are delighted to be here. Do just a teeny bit of introduction, a little bit about resistant starch, and then we'll turn it over to Emily. So I'm Hope Warshaw. I'm a dietitian, diabetes educator, live in Northern Virginia near DC, and I have worked for a few years with National Starch, the people who make Hi-maize, and I'm sure that many of you sampled the Cashwise bread and got to talk to Rhonda, who is standing at our booth in the exhibit hall. So I'll let Emily introduce herself, and then I'll tell you a little bit about resistant starch.
Thanks, Hope. I'm Emily Munday, and I'm a chef and nutritionist from Seattle, Washington. And I'm here working with Rhonda and Hope to talk about resistant starch and how you guys can apply it to your real life and fit it in your repertoire, your cooking repertoire. So there's lots of ways that we can get resistant starch. Who's heard of resistant starch?
Well, now they have.
Now you all have, so you can all Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about what exactly it is. Hope's going to go over that and some of the health benefits that you might be interested in, or you should be interested in. And then I'm going to jump into the cooking. So, Hope.
Great. So how many of you, with a show of hands, think we eat enough dietary fiber? You do. We have one person. You do, okay. For the most part, Americans are not eating nearly enough dietary fiber. We need about 25 to 38 grams a day. At best, most of us are averaging about half of that. So how does resistant starch fit into this picture? Resistant starch is a type of starch. It is also an insoluble fiber. And Hi-maize is an ingredient that contains resistant starch that is being sold right now to several food manufacturers, one being Cashwise for their fiber-rich bread, to Barilla, they're using it in this piccolini pasta product that's high in fiber. This is a ricanto whole grain pasta. So that's one way that you can get resistant starch, is by buying some foods that contain it. There's another group of products called Nutrition First that are being sold at the Hi-maize stores, actually as of today, which is really interesting. It's the baked mixes that were at the booth. So basically, resistant starch is a type of fiber. Our foods actually contain many different types of fiber. Different fibers have different health benefits. Resistant starch has health benefits in helping you with weight management, keeping you from being less hungry after eating, and it also seems to help with lowering glucose, your blood glucose levels after eating it, and that then in turn helps in decreasing what we call insulin resistance, which many people with type 2 diabetes have, but many people also with prediabetes and people with what we call metabolic syndrome, sort of on the way to prediabetes and type 2. So resistant starch can help in those areas. What Emily is going to walk us through today is really 3 ways that you can increase the amount of resistant starch that we eat. So we sort of know from some studies that Americans are eating about 5 grams of resistant starch a day, and that is part of your dietary fiber intake. So it's not separate. We're telling you that resistant starch is a type of fiber that can add to your fiber intake. Okay, so it all adds up cumulatively. So I've told you that you can get resistant starch in the form of Hi-maize in some foods. You can also get resistant starch in some foods that happen to have a high amount of resistant starch naturally. So what are those? The big leader, interestingly, is bananas, but not those brown bananas that have been at home for a few days, more those yellow bananas that still have a little tinge of green around the edges. So those are, you know, there's a really different taste. Those have a little bit more resistant starch. Beans, so you're going to see Emily use white beans in a recipe. Beans and lentils have a high amount of resistant starch. So those are a couple of foods. Eat more of those foods, you'll be getting more resistant starch. And then we're going to teach you how to use Hi-maize itself in some recipes. But this is as simple as, and we'll show you, putting it into a smoothie. If you do a smoothie running out the door in the morning for a quick breakfast. I use it at home in oat bran and in oatmeal. I just keep it in sort of a sugar bowl by the stove and take a teaspoon, tablespoon. A tablespoon of this gives you about 5 grams of dietary fiber as resistant starch, or you can use it in your baking. So we did, for example, a chef demonstration this morning. How many of you have had cream puffs in your life? Okay, so Emily actually made the outside, the cream puff part, not the filling, but the cream puff by replacing 1/3 of a cup of the flour out of 1 cup in the recipe with resistant starch. So we're going to show you different ways that you can do that. Emily.
All right, so it's a lot of information, and you may be kind of overwhelmed. Whoa, that's a lot of ways to do resistant starch. But we'll show you how practical it is, how easy it is to incorporate this into your daily life. So, like Hope said, the first way we're going to show you is in a breakfast smoothie. We're going to use the Hi-maize starch. Then we're going to make a pesto pasta salad, yummy, with this pasta that has the starch in it. And then we are finally going to make a dinner strata, which is a baked bread dish, and it's kind of Thanksgiving flavors, turkey stuffing strata. So we're kind of getting into fall here, and it's really warm and hearty dinner. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner we got covered here. And we're going to have some samples as we go along, so it'll be really tasty.
And so, I was just going to add, if people have questions along the way, I mean, we'll stop a couple times and ask you, but we're happy to make this informal, and we're all here to learn.
Definitely. Okay, so let's get right into it. We'll get cooking here. So we're down here. We are going to make, I call it the ruby red smoothie, and it incorporates fruits and vegetables into your breakfast smoothie, and that vegetable is a beet. And I'm going to use canned beets today, but you could use regular steamed beets. And I know some of you are sitting there like, whoa, this lady is crazy, beets in a smoothie. But it's great. It's really delicious. You'll get to taste it and prove me right, hopefully. And yeah, don't tell your kids that there's beets in it, and they won't know. So let's get going. So
Nah, parents never sneak around with kids, do they?
Never. Okay, so these are canned beets, like I said. Really easy and convenient versus steaming and peeling and cooking the beets. But if you have leftover unseasoned beets, say from the dinner the night before, go ahead and use those. So these are just canned sliced beets that I rinsed really well. So we'll put that in there. This is the mixed berries, and all the amounts are in the recipe packet for you to look at and follow along. So it says raspberries, but I went ahead and did a mixed berry. And all of the ingredients today are from the Cashwise here in New Ulm, so you can get all the ingredients that we're going to be working with. So I decided the mixed berries nowadays is great. And if you're really not into beets, which some of you may not be, I encourage you to try it, but if beets really aren't your thing, just substitute and equal the more fruit for the beet amount, and you'll be just fine. Okay, so then we're going to add orange juice, which I have in And we just made this up from concentrate earlier. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar, and this is really to taste. If you don't like as much sugar, you can definitely add less. But the nutritionals that are stated on this recipe, it's for 2 tablespoons.
And I'm assuming a no-calorie sweetener, if you wanted to
Splenda
use it, would work fine.
Whatever. Okay, then we're going to add 4 teaspoons, which is of the resistant starch. We're just going to go ahead and add it right in here. So this can be done, really early in the morning when you're still half asleep.
So that's getting you already beyond all the fiber in the fruit and vegetables, another 5-6 grams of dietary fiber.
All right, so let's see if this baby works.
Can you use frozen mixed berries?
Yeah,
That's what they are.
Sorry, I didn't say that. These are frozen mixed berries, and any frozen fruit really you could use. All right. You want to give it a stir to make sure there's no resistant starch on the side. You could also add ice cubes if you like a thicker smoothie. And you really do want to blend it well to make sure that all the ingredients are really pureed finely. All right, and that's it. Super easy. So this makes 2 servings. So we'll just pour like that. And it has some fresh blueberries here, so we could just put a few of those in it or on the side, whatever. Optional garnish there. So there you have it. That's the ruby red smoothie with Hi-maize. And
So you're going to get to taste this. There'll be samples coming along.
shortly. They need this blender, so you better give it to them. The Heart of New Ulm project's all about teamwork, right?
I got it.
Okay, so see how easy that was? There's nothing crazy or weird about that. Just dump and blend, right? All right, so let's move along. We are going to make the pesto pasta salad, and I call this super pesto. So it's on the next page.
I'll get rid of that
Out of the
stuff.
way.
Yeah. Here, I got it.
All right, so pesto, what is it? Pesto is an Italian sauce, and it's classically made with walnuts, basil, garlic, or pine nuts is classic, but walnuts are often used, olive oil, and Parmesan cheese, and it's delicious. It's this thick green sauce, and the Italians, they put it on pasta or these little potato dumplings called gnocchi, and pizza. I mean, it's one of those, like, things that you could put on shoe leather and it would taste amazing because it's just delicious. And kids love it, and they love pesto pasta. I don't know a kid that doesn't like it. So this I'm calling super pesto because I've added a little twist to it. I've added some superfoods. I added some spinach in addition to the basil, as well as parsley. And both of those are extremely high in vitamins and minerals. And a lot of people think of parsley as just some little garnish on the side of the plate or maybe a teaspoon chopped over something, but it is a powerhouse of nutrition. So anytime I can chop it into salads or put it in a sauce, I will. So we've got the basil and the parsley and spinach. We're going to use flax seeds and walnuts in place of the pine nuts. So flax seeds, some of you may have not heard of them. They are really rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which are an essential part of the diet. We need those. So it's a great source. Walnuts also have omega-3s and vitamin E, and they are really tasty in this sauce. Extra virgin olive oil has monounsaturated fats, which is really great for heart health. Again, this is a really heart healthy sauce. And you may look at the nutritionals here and it's like, oh, it's kind of high in fat, but it's heart healthy fat, and you're not going to sit and eat 2 cups of it. You're just going to use a tablespoon or 2 here or there. So it's a great little sauce to have in your recipe cabinet. So let's get ahead and make that up. There's also a recipe in the packet for a dip that uses this pesto. So you can put it in the pesto salad, you can put it in the dip, you can put it on sandwiches or in wraps. I put it on egg. I'm not supposed to put, I'll just put this here. There we go. Okay. So again, this is really a dump and press a button kind of operation. Really easy. So these are flax seeds, and let's see if I can get a close up here. These are golden flax seeds. These are whole. They also sell brown ones at the Cashwides here in New Ulm. They also sell ground flax seeds, which I would recommend you buy because you need to grind flax seeds before you consume them, so your body can access the nutrition inside. So the ground ones is just an easy way. You can also grind them in a coffee grinder if you have the whole ones. And I store mine in the refrigerator so they last longer. So I'm going to go ahead and dump the flax seeds in here. I've also got some walnuts and 2 cloves of garlic, which I'm going to smash. So I just take my knife, this is to get the peel off, and just kind of press gently. You don't have to press too hard, and then the peel just slips right off, so you're not
Chef trick.
Yeah, and kids like to do that too. I make my stepson peel garlic for days because I hate it. So pass that one off to the kids.
So Emily, I have a question for you because I'm a ground flaxseed user.
Yes.
Am I doing just as well using already purchased ground flax?
Yes, you are. You just want to make sure you use them within 6 months, I like to say.
I keep it in the fridge.
So keeping in the fridge or the freezer even. That's what I do. Keep it in the freezer. Make them last longer. But if you buy them in the bulk food section like they have at the Cashwides, you can buy them in smaller quantities, so you'll only buy what you'll use for 6 months, and then you can just buy more. So you don't need to buy a big bag. Okay, so we'll add the olive oil. I found that actually adding the olive oil with these things helps grind up the flax seeds a little bit. So I'm going to grind this. You kind of want to grind it pretty finely because you don't want any chunks of garlic and you're trying to break down the flaxseed. Again, I do recommend that you use the ground, but if you have whole, you can put it in there as well. So let's go ahead and add the salt. We're going to put a half teaspoon of salt. And again, if you're on a low sodium diet, you can go ahead and skip this. Oops, I'll just pour it. It's got lots of flavor. All right, black pepper, a quarter. And I do like to measure things. Sometimes it is easier just to throw things in whatever, but if you're concerned with your calorie intake, it is really good to get in the habit of measuring things so you know exactly what you're consuming. So spinach, this is just baby spinach, pre-washed. 2 cups of that. The basil leaves. And I grew basil in my garden. Who grows herbs in their garden? Anyone? Yeah? Great. Yeah, it's really pretty darn easy, and the rewards are rich when you can have pesto all summer long. But summer's over, and now we buy basil package. All right, so I'll just... you don't need to worry too much about the stems. Just make sure that these tougher, lower stems you want to avoid. All right. And the parsley, again, really high in vitamins. A and K. Lots of fiber. It's really fresh tasting too. All right, so I know that that's about a cup of parsley. And as you cook more, you'll get better at eyeballing things. But as you start out, you might want to measure. Okay, so I've got all that but the Parmesan cheese. I wait to add the Parmesan cheese to the end. And it'll take a second.
Any questions?
Flaxseed or the light? Is there a difference?
The ground flaxseed, brown or
I think they're pretty equal in nutrition from what I've read.
well, and that's why I was asking Emily about the buying it brown versus the seeds, because I mean to me it's just one more step.
She thinks that brown versus
Brown,
gold.
yeah, I don't know.
They're pretty comparable.
I wonder why. Brown or golden.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to get Margaret from the Cashwise natural food area,
Yeah.
but I've never, I buy ground the Bob's Red Mill, and it's just ground flax.
Okay, so it's pretty thick and green and bright color, so we'll go ahead and add cheese. Now I like to make pesto in advance and freeze it, so if you're going to do that, wait to add the cheese until after you've thawed it and you're ready to use it. So if you're going to freeze it, just wait for this step and freeze it as it was. So we'll just grind it in now. So it's a pretty thick spread or sauce. So depending on the use, you might want to thin it out with water. Some cooks use olive oil, but water works just fine. So I use water. So we're going to leave this as is, and I will scoop this into a bowl. So that's it. Pesto, pretty easy and delicious. So I'm holding my finger in the bottom here to keep the blade in it. Kind of just helps. It's easier. I love my food processor. It makes my life a lot easier. Okay,